Okay. What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. I'm KBTX senior Texas A&M sportswriter Travis Brown. Over there, sports director Tyler Shaw. But we're kind of spread out. We're a little socially distanced today.
Some room over here.
Because we're down a man, and we're down one Max Crawford because of this. We were welcoming Hallie Evan Crawford to the world. She was born over the weekend, and so Max is on that paternity leave, using it well to spend plenty of good time with his daughter by taking his other kid to the A&M baseball game on Tuesday. So shout out to his wife and the in-laws for taking care of the new baby. But I guess Mason, his oldest, needs some attention too. He's not getting all the attention anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure Mason was begging his dad to go to the baseball game. I'm sure that's exactly how it went.
Yes, Dad, don't you know the streak that they're on right now?
Yeah, we have to watch
them.
They
had an 8-game winning streak
this midweek against Sam Houston.
He's like 1.5. So yeah. Congrats to Matt and Kimbo over there with their new baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of these days, she'll make the podcast debut.
We need that. Although, that would be. We should just have the two of them do the podcast, and we can just watch. So, congrats to the Crawford family. Tyler, how are you doing there, buddy? Big news out of basketball. Your boy Jimmer retired. Are you okay? Are you good to do the podcast?
To think that he wasn't retired before would be.
I kind of didn't know he was still playing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean he's done the 3-on-3 stuff and things here and there. Kind of a weird announcement when it seems like he could pick up a ball whenever he wanted and just kind of. I mean he did the Olympics too. But hey, good
Doesn't
for
he
him.
have a podcast or something?
Yeah, I'd be lying to you if I'd said listen to it. So I'm not sure with everything, but hey, now he can spend all of his attention on helping BYU with their NIL fund because they need a lot of help with that.
True,
right now.
Yeah, because they're really hurting for money right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll get right into what we got. Basically, two big things. We've got a little bit of spring football recap. Yay.
It's over.
It's over. Yay. And then the thing that everybody's been waiting for over a year now, and that is A&M baseball heading to Austin to play Texas for a 3-game series. I'll let you pick. I know you were with the family this weekend. Nicole, Morgan, and I were covering spring game. So I don't know. Did you get to watch it? Well, which one would you rather knock spring game out first?
Yeah,
or
let's just dive into the football since we're kind of. This will be kind of our bow, or tying a ribbon on the season, just the spring season. Then we kind of leave football behind for at least a little bit. Football's always going to be.
Yep.
It is always going to be a talking point.
It's always creeping in the corner, watching you sleep.
Yes, but the spring season is over. I didn't watch a ton of it, but from what I did watch, from what I did see, highlights, from what I've heard. It's kind of hard to take a lot away from this, and I think that was probably by Elko's design. Mm-hmm. And any coach, to their credit, I don't think they're really trying to give away any sort of playbook, or if this offense is going to be more explosive. I don't think we saw that on Saturday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but just from what I kind of observed, they're not tipping their hand to anything. And it's still kind of up in the air of what this offense really will look like.
Well, there was two big issues. One, a lot of guys were hurt or held out for precautionary reasons. And then the other thing was that the offensive lines, because of some of those injuries and because of the draft situation, were just a hodgepodge. And so neither quarterback, or neither of the 4 or 5 quarterbacks that played, none of them had any time in the pocket. And they weren't really going to run the ball a whole lot because that's when you really get guys on the ground and guys could get rolled up on and things like that. So, and 2 running backs out hurt. So you weren't going to really see a whole lot of runs. It was kind of glorified 7-on-7 without any time in the pocket. So that makes for a 4 field goal game for one team with one touchdown and one for the other. And you know what? I'm going to produce on the fly here.
All right.
Because we'll just kind of give the viewers a behind the scenes. This is what I concocted to bring up the spring game stats. And as you can see, it's not. But I think if I push this button right here.
Uh-oh. Oh,
there we get
screen
the whole screen,
here.
and so you can kind of control over there a little bit if you want to.
Look at that.
Yeah, there we go. So these are the stats from the spring game. You've got Marcel Reed, 18 for 28, 219 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 64% completion percentage. You know, he was bold. And I wrote about this before this game, saying that next season he wants a 70% completion percentage, or in the neighborhood of 70%. It's not something that he's done a whole lot in his career, and so that would be a consistent step up. He did okay in the game. The second half was definitely better than the first half, but I don't know. Do you think that's achievable for him?
Sure, it's achievable. I think because he's got a little bit better weapons around him. And I think if everyone stays healthy, that could be achievable. Again, we haven't seen it yet, but man, if he does get to that 70% mark, you got to think what does that do to the team? You know, if you have Marcel playing to that level, I think that is a sure sign that this team really has taken that next step. Again, kind of up in the air. You know, are we going to see it? But it's good that he knows that. You know, he knows. What's going to help this team, what he needs to work on. You know, if guys like, you know, Craver and Concepcion really kind of pan out how they're projected to, I think it is achievable.
Yeah,
because you got some playmakers out there that he can get some easier completions to.
He was, his arsenal of throws, his tool bag did seem a little bit bigger. He had that back shoulder throw nailed several times. He had really his best throw of the game was early or midway through the first half. The pocket just absolutely collapsed on him, and he threw one kind of right over the top of the offensive line to Mario Craver, cutting across the middle of the field for I want to say it was 17 yards. Craver had a guy right on his tail on like the dig or the in, and he had to put it right in stride, and he did for 17 yards. And the very next play throws a back shoulder throw to Craver in coverage, and Craver goes up and high points it and gets it for a 29-yard gain. And then on the one touchdown pass he had, he hit it was
Bethel Roman.
He hit Bethel Roman on the right side of the field on a back shoulder throw, and then in the end zone on a back shoulder throw. So that back shoulder throw seemed pretty dialed in for him.
So I know this was a draft, you know, and you know, I get the first pick, you get the second, you know, that kind of thing. But I wonder how much what was it kind of rigged a little bit where Reed gets Concepcion and Craver on his you know, I mean, that just seems a little, and it's a good for him. You know, it's good for those two to really get as many reps as possible, because that was almost half his targets right there.
You wonder what the draft rules are, if they're getting to pick multiple guys or units. Like we get the first team wideouts, you get the second team wideouts,
we'll get the running back,
you get the first team linebackers. How much? I mean, you know, it didn't work. It worked like that with the wide receivers. It didn't really work like that with, you know, the offensive line.
Right.
It did work like that with the running backs, because I believe both Reuben Owens and E.J. Smith were on the same. Nope, they were on different teams.
Yeah, Smith's here. He led the white team. Owens had a few carries.
Again, there wasn't a whole lot of running to be done.
Right.
That's how you get people hurt. If you click over to special teams, I like this. See, now I don't have to do as much. You have to do it.
Yeah, there we go.
You can look. Here's all the field goals. This was the 4 field goals, 3 of them by Jared Zirkle. Interesting one by Padron there. 52 yards for the freshman, but it was like a stinger. Like, I don't think it got much higher than about 20 feet off the ground.
Just a line drive.
And it just, I mean, he just just absolutely stung that one. But Randy Bond punting also for the other team. He had a 53-yard punt, and it was a really sleepy first quarter. His 53-yard punt out of the end zone might have been the best play of the first quarter because he really got it. You never really have seen him punt, and he did a pretty good job. I'm not trading Tyler White, but he did a good job.
What was it? Was it Robert Cessna after asked Elko, "Hey, do you have a kicking problem now?"
Yeah.
I mean, is there a little competition or
And Randy Bond didn't even get to kick a field goal in the game because his team never got them in field. They went for it on fourth several times. Click over back on the game tab, and let's see, fourth downs.
Maroon 0 for 2.
0 for 2, yeah. So, just again, it's kind of like the soapbox I went on last week. You can't really get a whole lot out of this.
No.
Mike Elko, when he was asked about if fans would be able to tell some of the defensive changes, he said, "I hope not," because
that's
they're
not the point.
They're being pretty vanilla, and this is more for the players just to get out there and hit. Honestly, the best play of the game might have been, and thanks for pulling it up on the defense there. It was linebacker, and I'm gonna try to. I have to look at little letters here. It was. It's great podcasting. I should have been. I've been prepared for the baseball stuff really well. Herrera. He stepped up and absolutely laid the wood on Johnny Ryder, the wide receiver coming across, and stood over him and was just chirping. After the game, Torrey New York said they call him little Baby Ray Lewis because he just, it didn't matter that he was his teammate or maybe his buddy. He absolutely just annihilated him. Ryder was able to walk off, on his own power, but he tweeted, I think it was a picture the next day and just said my ribs still hurt. So, it was intense.
It got physical, didn't it? I mean, there were some legit hit. And again, I don't remember who it was, but I saw the clip. Nicole showed me. I want to say it was Torrey New York. Could have been someone else. Kind of rolled over Craver a little bit, and they got a little. It was
Bryce Anderson.
Bryce Anderson. That's
Bryce Anderson.
They got a little chippy there,
right? Craver did not like getting twisted up at the end of that tackle.
Yeah, dude, what are you doing? But hey, competition. They got into it. You saw a lot of young people though in this one. Marco Jones with 5 sacks. I think he was kind of the story on defense. With what he was able to do.
Before let's pump the brakes a little bit because a sack was a two-hand touch.
Yeah, I get it.
If you could sack in a real game from two-hand touch, Shamar Stewart would go 1-1
right
in the next draft because he was so great at getting to the quarterback.
It was the finishing.
It was the finishing the tackle. And so don't get me wrong, Marco Jones had a good game, and it was probably his best play in that regard was he ran down Reuben Owens in the backfield from the opposite side of the line on probably an RPO play that he picked up, ran him down for a tackle for loss. That was probably his most impressive play because it was an actual football play.
I know Max would love me bringing this up, but how many sacks would Texas A&M have had if two-hand touch counted as a sack against South Carolina?
So many.
Where they got into the backfield and they got to the quarterback.
Lenore Sellers is very happy that sacks are not two-hand touch.
But, man, Lenore Sellers just escaped absolutely everything that night.
So he showed some explosion against a hodgepodge offensive line. He showed some speed, and he was able to get in the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see how that can kind of translate to the fall. He was a guy who, in the A&M's baseball's spring – our pre-season inter squad that was open he was playing baseball, and he had a double. And now he's no longer with the baseball team, but he's an athletic kid who's going to potentially play outfield. So interesting. We'll get into A&M baseball, but there was a time earlier in the season that I was kind of like, from that small sample size we saw in that scrimmage, maybe they could use Marco Jones out in the field. Nothing else is working. So,
well, what a story would that have been had he did come, go over to the baseball team.
Right.
And
just rejoins up about halfway through conference. Hey guys, I'm here.
They make a run to Omaha and Marco Jones is, but yeah.
That's not something that's worked out great for A&M. You hear of and you see the two-sport baseball and football athlete. Kyler Murray was that guy. It's not that uncommon. It just never seems to work out for A&M.
No. It'd be fun for us just as observers to see that happen. Maybe one of these days we'll get it. I know he's not a two-sport athlete, but Elko's always joked about Jace Lavalette, coming playing tight end or something just because of his size. But yeah, you're right. It just hasn't seemed to work out. I feel like it's common enough one of these days, and especially with NIL, we might get something.
Yeah, they've had better luck with track.
Yeah,
Devon A-Chain, Foster. What was his? Why am I forgetting his first name? The center,
Bryce
Foster.
Bryce Foster,
with
great
the
shot putter.
And I remember hearing back when Kyler Murray was in college, there was a deal where he played in the spring game, and then they had a series. I believe it was at TCU in Fort Worth, and so they played a morning spring game, and afterwards drove down and played in the baseball game that night. So, it takes this specific kind of athlete that's going to put in the work to both go through spring practice and keep your timing in the cage. But I don't know. I was curious to see if we'll see that again at A&M.
Yeah, I don't know. And Bryce didn't really do a whole lot in the spring with football when because of his shot
much
putting.
To the chagrin of a lot of A&M fans.
Yeah. Well, he's not here anymore, so.
Hey y'all, it's Max, and if you've been watching the pod, you know this by now, that we have a new official sponsor of the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. And it is a familiar face. You know him, you have seen him around Aggieland for many, many years. Say hello to C&J Barbecue. Now, I don't know if there are many of you out there, but if you live in the Brazos Valley and you have not been to C&J Barbecue yet, what on earth are you guys doing? The crew at C&J started out smoking just about 20 pounds of meat a day in a tiny gas station on a Harvey Road. Now, they serve over 2,200 pounds every single day across 3 locations. So you know it's good. They've fed President Bush, catered for Willie Nelson. Yeah, Willie. But most importantly, they've been feeding Aggies and locals for over 40 years. In fact, I had myself some at a catering event last weekend, and the brisket was absolutely amazing. Don't even get me started on the sides and the appetizers because Justin is always cooking up some amazing stuff. Just get there, see, smell, and taste for yourself. Tell them the guys sent you. C&J Barbecue, a family tradition.
Yep. Well, that's a perfect little segue into, I think, the thing that is the biggest talking point of the week, and probably, I know not everybody's into college baseball, but it really would be like the sports story of nationally, other than, I guess the draft is going on this weekend, and that is Texas and Texas A&M baseball. This is not only is it the rivalry renewed in conference play, but it's the return of the players and Jim Schlossnagle after the exit that he had last year, and the weird won't he of Michael Early. I mean, just like storylines abound. What sticks out to you as the thing you're the most excited about?
Yeah, former Texas assistant Michael Early playing against his coaching against his former
for
team
about a day.
Yeah, no, I mean this is you couldn't write it any better. Yeah, even before the whole Schlossnagle saga happened, this was a game that people were looking forward to. Yes, A&M and Texas have played their midweeks, but they're back in conference play again. They're playing a series. It's for the Lone Star Showdown. This is the preseason #1 team against the current #1 team. And while A&M is unranked, they are the most dangerous unranked team out there because they are slaying all the Goliaths. They've already gone to Tennessee and beaten them when they were #1. They've gone to Arkansas and beaten them when they were #2. Now they're going to try to do a third top 2 team on the road. And whether they do it or not, they've shown that they're capable of it, and would not surprise me at all if they win this series. Again, if they pulled that off, I think that all but solidifies a postseason berth, which is just crazy where they were about a month ago, and what they've been able to do. I am a little disappointed that this series is not in Austin or in College Station. I think when the move first happened, for some reason I thought it was going to be. And I was excited to see how Schlossnagle coming back to Olsen Field. I mean, obviously I know how the fans would receive him, but it would just be insane. It's still going to be really fun to see, but we don't get quite that hostile environment of Schlossnagle returning to his fans. There's still going to be plenty of Aggie fans heckling, I'm sure.
Sure. As you said, it's over at the Disch-Falk Field. Number 1 Texas taking on Texas A&M. A&M 24-16 this season, but the last 11 games have been absolutely insane. Let's look at that for a second, because this has been it's mostly been the bats, because the pitching has been okay.
About what they've been all season.
What they've been, Prager was up earlier. He's a little bit down, but the bullpen was down early, and the bullpen has kind of squared away around like Weston Moss and Brad Rudis and some of those guys. But it's really the hitting that was supposed to be the best part about this team heading into the season, and it has been the thing that's turned it around over the last 11 games. So that is the second game of the Tennessee series. Of course, the first game, they got no hit. Yep. And shut out. The second game of the Tennessee series on, A&M is hitting .326, and they're averaging 11.37 runs per game. They've had more double-digit scoring games than they've had single-digit scoring games in that run. And these three guys are kind of the three guys that at least I pulled out that have kind of made the difference hitting. Blake Binderup, especially over the last 9 for him, he's batting .375. With 5 home runs in that stretch. Jace Laviolette, the guy who could be, a lot of people thought could be 1-1 in the Major League Baseball draft this summer, he's turned it around to hit .327 over that stretch with 6 home runs and 18 RBIs. And then you think about 18 RBIs in that stretch for Jace Laviolette, it's probably what you expect. But catcher Bear Harrison, who didn't even win the starting job out of the spring through that stretch, he's batting .306 with 3 home runs and 16 RBIs. He had 7 in that comeback effort against South Carolina.
Yeah, Bear's been amazing. It seems like everyone has kind of emerged and stepped up, and everything's kind of clicked all at the same time. And shout out, Blake Binderup, College Station native. He absolutely smoked. He had 2 homers yesterday against Sam Houston, and the first one just was absolutely smoked. I don't remember what the exit velocity was on that one, but I mean, it was as soon as it was off the bat, it's like, holy cow! Like,
yeah,
the dude's got power. And it's good to see that.
And you know what? I'm now going to correct myself, because I believe those 2 home runs might not have been. So I think he's up to 5 home runs on in that stretch. Excuse me, Blake Binderup.
Up to
no,
7.
He's up to 5 home runs. I'm looking at Bear Harrison. Yes, we had it right.
But he was really struggling at the start of the season, so it's good to see that he's kind of got it around. That I think that's been the most surprising thing about this team is how we thought what they've done over the last 11 games is what we thought this team was
They
going
are
to
who
be.
we thought they were?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It just took a lot longer to get there. And a lot of times you can say it's kind of cherry picking of, like 11 games, it looks good. Well, these last 11 games is a completely different team than what we saw at the beginning of the season up until that point. I don't know what happened, what the switch that flipped after getting no hit against Tennessee, but something did, and they have not looked back, and they've been on a roll. I don't see them getting swept in a series again. I see them taking at least one this weekend in Austin. If they keep playing the way they do, I think they're going to be rolling and hot heading into the postseason.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm curious to see how. You would expect there's going to be a lot of Aggies who wanted to make the trip. How many are able to get tickets is going to be a whole nother story through that. I was looking at tickpick.com, and they have some trends and stuff like that. And for the first 2 games, you're going to be paying over, I believe, $150 just to get in the door, and the average ticket price is over $400 for the first 2 games. The third game, the Sunday game, is a little bit lower. But just to see, Jim Schlossnagle, the way it certainly didn't leave TCU in the same way that he left A&M, but we knew, and it was obvious when we were at Globe Life or any of these places where TCU was, or the few times that they actually played, he didn't he was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He didn't want to stand and do the interviews in front of the dugout where TCU's players were filing in. It was just really uncomfortable for him. I mean, ratchet that up to 11.
Oh yeah, this is going to be incredibly uncomfortable
situation because think about too. You have to go back when he left. All of A&M's best players, Jace Laviolette, Caden Kent. I'm trying to think. Prager was a draft, but all those guys went into the portal.
Yeah,
and it took them getting Michael early and putting him in that position for them to say, okay, actually, I think we're going to stay. And so, the thing I've been thinking about every time I think about this series is that commercial that A&M put out. Just a general, what does A&M stand for, whatever, and they say, and it was pretty a stark thing that they had Laviolette and Schott, I believe it was, say loyalty as a part of that, and they're kind of grinning, like I have a knowing grin, and so I think that's kind of what I've been. That's the mental image I've been thinking about leading up into the series.
This is going to be the most emotionally fueled series that we'll see all season, probably from any team across the country.
In its own little vacuum, it's more emotional than the football series was. I mean, football is football, and it has its own energy, but this is supercharged. I don't think any matchup between these two has been or will be.
No, and I think that's why it goes beyond just college baseball, because like you said, maybe generically speaking, there's not a whole lot of college baseball fans spread across the country, but you don't have to be a college baseball fans to kind of hone into this series and understand what this means and be intrigued and just to see what happens. And to your point with football, sure, football is king, but most of those kids had no real connection to the A&M Texas rivalry. This is different. This is personal for those A&M players. They were coached by that guy. They know who the coach is. He's the one that recruited them. He's the one that coached them. He's the one that took them all the way to the College World Series finals last year, and then just left without telling them.
The funny thing, my mom isn't an A. None of my family, immediate family, went to A&M, but they kind of keep tabs on things a little bit because I'm down here, and without knowing too much about the program or anything else, she did mention to me this week, I hope Gretchen Montgomery is there because she
the all-star mom cast.
Yeah, she's my mom said she's representing all disgruntled moms, baseball moms across the country, and kind of hopes that she's there because she's had a whale of a time on Twitter talking about where this program was and where it is now. So let's look at the two programs here because despite the records, they're not that far off statistically. Both of them right there in the upper 200s in batting average, both right there around the low 500s in slugging percentage, right there at 400 in on-base percentage. It's really the pitching that has separated Texas a little bit from Texas A&M. The ERA is a full run lower, but the strikeouts per 9 innings exactly the same. And A&M actually has an edge in walks and hits per innings pitched. So a lot of times, especially when we were looking at basketball, when we were looking at football this year, both of those A&M teams were good, but it seemed like so often we'd pull up this very graphic and it would look like on paper A&M should lose that game.
Yeah.
On paper, this looks like a coin flip to me. What do you think?
No, I really do. I think it is. That's why I said I would not be surprised if they win this series. Looking at the number one team in the nation, an unranked Texas A&M at home for Texas, I don't think that matters. And the stats back it up, honestly. Now the pitching's an interesting thing because with Max Wiener there, man, what a pitching coach. Because we saw what he did last year for the Aggies and how far they got it, and it's been a strength for Texas this year. It's kind of why they're in the position and they've won so many games that they have. I think he's. I don't know if head coaching is what he wants to do, but there's going to be a lot of people clamoring for Max Wiener and what he's been able to do for two programs now.
He did really connect with those guys last year, at least in bringing them up a whole nother notch as a starting rotation and a bullpen. Because if you looked, I mean, last year, other than Prager, they were kind of hunting for those other starters through a lot of the season and still managed to make it to the finals under him. That Texas rotation should look a little something like this. Jared Spencer, a lefty, he's been the Friday night guy for most of the season, and then Luke Harrison follows up as the Saturday guy. But the interesting wild card here is Ruger Riojas, who kind of tell me what you think. Micah Dallas with a fake mustache.
I can see it. Yeah,
That's kind of what I was thinking when I pulled that picture in. I don't know what if Micah Dallison had been in the same room at the same time, but that 7-1 record with a 3.35 ERA. He hasn't been in the rotation as long as the other two, so some of those are some bullpen wins. But he has really come along, and I wouldn't maybe be surprised if they try to mix things up and throw him earlier in the week. But no matter which arm you go with here, some solid stats from the group of them.
They do, and I think if A&M wants to kind of now. A&M's bats are about as hot as they've been all season, so I think they will fare fairly well against this rotation. But if A&M kind of wants to keep up and win this series, they're going to need some great games from their starters as well. Prager's going to have to kind of have more of a game that we've been accustomed to. But they've had Justin Lampkin has been good for them. I think that they're going to need
Miles Patton. It might have through that 11-game stretch we're talking about. Miles Patton might have been the best pitcher that they've had through that stretch, and he's the Sunday guy too. So
right. So this will be an interesting battle to see kind of how the starters fare on each day. But again, the way that the bats have been for A&M, I don't think that there's a rotation out there that really scares them.
If I'm Jim Schlossnagle, I think I might put Ruger Riojas on Friday night because he's kind of your hottest arm.
Yeah.
He's kind of your hottest arm and bring him in as the Friday starter. And honestly, Prager has the stuff to be the best pitcher out there on the field.
Right.
But he hasn't had it lately. And so you might steal a game and save what your Friday night guy to go up against Patton later. I might make that switch. And it's interesting to see the lefty-righty because for so much of his career at A&M, he liked splitting
the lefties.
The lefties, or if it was two righties, putting a lefty in. He's always liked going back and forth between the days to kind of get the other team's lineup out of a rhythm if they have some platoon guys for righty and lefty arms. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. I could very well roll into it just with the same rotation, but I would be curious to see if there's any of that conversation happening.
I think it's going to be big for Texas to try to get that game won Friday. I think, especially momentum-wise, if A&M comes in, steals that game one against Schlossnagle, I just think it's a bigger deal for Texas to get that game won because I think the target on their back, number one team, getting a really hot A&M team for them, I think it's a bigger deal for Texas to keep rolling the way they want to roll, to really get that momentum, steal. I say steal, it's at home, but that game one I think is more important for Texas to win. If A&M, let's say, loses game one, I still see them capable of taking 2 and 3. Just because of the way that Miles Patton has been playing and some of the other starters, so I think Schlossnagle's not going to hold back. He's going to throw every arm he has to try and get that game won, get that momentum, kind of calm down the whole drama of the series a little bit, and get it going in their favor.
Here's my devil's advocate for the Aggies. The first part of they went through a whole offseason where they were told they're the best lineup in the country. When the rankings came out, they're the best team in the country. They went to the finals last year, and so I don't know if there was a certain level of pushing a little too hard. A lot of the players said early when they were going through those struggles that they're just pushing a little too hard. if there's ever a series that someone might go out and try to force the game and not let the game come to them, it's this weekend.
Right.
Especially for A&M, maybe more so than Texas. A&M kind of has, it's not everything to lose, but there's certainly more emotion on the A&M side than there is on the Texas side, beyond just the normal rivalry of the whole thing.
So that's a fair point, because I do this is going to see. I think this is where we're going to see Michael Early's coaching come into play. Has he kind of, this is year one as a head coach. Has he kind of grown into that role enough where he will handle this weekend? How is he going to have that team ready, really mentally and emotionally? Because we both know how much of a mental game baseball is, and they seem to have kind of fixed that mentality in these last 11 games. We've shown the numbers and what they've been able to do, but right now, you don't want to reset to the beginning of the season. You're right. When you had all that talk about you guys are the best lineup in the country, this is the number one team, and it might have gotten into their head a little bit. Whether they'll admit it or not, it might have kind of been clouding in their head, and just things did not work out. Well, you have that opportunity again against Texas, to where you're hot, you're on this winning streak, you've beaten the number one and the number two team already. This is Jim Schlossnagle. They're going to want to come in with everything. You don't want to overdo it. And you're right. This could be a trap series, I guess, for A&M. So it'll be interesting to see how Michael Early manages that, and what we see right from the get-go on Friday will be telling of how they've prepared for this.
This might be a huge series for Jason Kelly, because he's the one guy really on that A&M staff for the most part in the real leadership levels that is detached from everything. And he is the guy who has the head coaching experience. He's the guy that Mike Early hired to be able to lean on his experience. And so it's going to be a chess match between Jim Schlossnagle and then I think Michael Early and Jason Kelly on that side. And he might be the coolest head to prevail in all this, because even you look, Caleb Longley, hitting coach, came from Texas over to A&M. So he has the opposite direction. I mean, I guess Early technically came with Early from Texas, but he has some ties to that program and everything. So of all the people involved in this, the only major coach in all of it that isn't affected is Jason Kelly.
All right, Aggies, everyone is leaning on you, Jason Kelly.
The whole series is on your shoulders.
What's the spread on either Schlossnagle or Early getting tossed from one of these games?
Oh, I don't think. I mean, yeah.
You don't think we see anyone getting tossed?
I don't think we see one, because you don't want to. Man, you gotta. This is one where there's baseball. You coach, either you get tossed because you're that upset about what the umpire is doing, or you get tossed because you need some energy from your guys. There is no extra energy needed for this series. It should. You don't need a wake-up call, I don't think, for your team in any of this. And so, I mean, just in general, I think Schlossnagle barks a lot more than Michael Early does from the dugout. So, I mean, he would probably be the one. But I think it's a bad look. You don't want to be the guy that in this whole thing.
All eyes on you, all eyes on this series.
Right. I would imagine
return.
Jim Schlossnagle is going to maybe be a little bit even further back in the dugout,
stoic.
Just a little bit more, let the game stand for itself. Don't draw a whole lot of attention to me, because there's going to be a lot of attention on him.
I'm curious to see how he receives the media contingent from College Station, as we are all going to be there waiting for, to hear what he has to say. So, it's one of those series we've been waiting over a year for, and I guess ever since Omaha, we've really been waiting for, and it's here. And honestly, I think this will be very telling of kind of how A&M season goes.
Real quick, because I made the graphic and I don't want to. Here's Texas' hitting leaders.
There we go. There's Mendoza.
Ethan Mendoza, he's hitting 349, leading the team. Catcher Rylan Galvin is leading in both OPS and home runs. OPS of 1.257.
Wow.
Fantastic. home runs 12, and then Will Gasparino 44 RBIs. He's tied with another Texas player, but has a little bit of the edge. So those are the hitting leaders for the Longhorns heading into the season that the Aggies will have to face. But again, I mean, A&M's hitting has been phenomenal as of late. They have great hitters. The hitting is about equal, on equal playing field statistically when you look at going into the series. So you would think it is nothing that A&M's pitching staff hasn't faced this year.
Yeah, no, again, yeah, I think it honestly is going to be kind of a coin flip of a series. Now, again, we could eat our words, and this could be lopsided either way, who knows, but I honestly... I think we're going to be playing a rubber match on Sunday. I'll just say that. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think if I were to put my prediction down, I think A&M loses the first game because of what I said. Prager hasn't been great. I think they're going to move Rojas up on Friday. That's just my guess. I don't have any knowledge on that. And that the energy is just going to be a little like. It's just going to be a little off. Guys are going to be pressing a little too much. They need that first game to kind of settle in, kind of similar to the Tennessee series. And then I think the A&M wins Saturday, and it'll be a rubber matchup for Sunday. And man, coin flip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got me. I don't know, to be honest.
Coin flip.
The one thing that would really help the Aggies is if some weather happens and they get thrown into a doubleheader one of the days.
Yeah, but we don't want that.
No, I'm not saying we do. I'm just saying they played a doubleheader against Tennessee and look what they did. And I don't know, these doubleheaders seem to do well for them.
You're right. That does play into that a little. But man, I want each game to stand alone.
Yeah,
I want that.
No one wants those.
I want that split first two games, like we said, in that third game, making it feel like
marbles.
Making it feel like the final series in Omaha again. Like, yeah, I want each game to stand. I think a double header in any of the days would just kind of ruin it a little bit, or at least put a little bit of a damper on it, a wet blanket, if you will, a wet blanket out in left field.
Yeah, on that fake grass,
on the turf at the Dish. What else? What do we got? Women's golf heading to a regional over in Lubbock. Softball still cranking along.
Softball's got their final home series. Shout out Emily Kennedy, who will be drafted in the inaugural Athletes Unlimited Softball League. Mm-hmm. So she's going pro over this summer. Michael, I'm going to butcher his name, Heidelbog or something like that. Aggie golfer just set an SEC tournament and Texas A&M program record. He shot a 61, which I think his previous high coming into this year was like 71 was his best last year. Mm-hmm. And he just shot a 61 at the SEC championships. So yeah. Spring sports seem to be boding well in Aggie land.
And then the draft this weekend. My guess. We won't have to get too far into all of it because we've talked about it from Pro Day and everything. My guess, 3 Aggies go. It's the 3 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And then like Ja'Day Walker will sign a undrafted free agent. There'll be a few undrafted free agent situations, but yeah, I think the 3 go. Mm-hmm. Best case scenario for us, 1 goes each day.
Makes it a little easier.
Makes things a little easier, yeah. Or 1 goes each day, or you get 1 Thursday, 2 early Saturday.
That would help.
That would help a little bit, and then kind of not. So what? I mean, we talk about this often. Whatever helps us out is really what needs to happen. That's all that really matters.
Likely, we'll see Shamar Stewart go Thursday. I think Nick Scorton's kind of a fringe one. If someone takes a chance, he could go as high as Thursday. At one point, he was a projected first rounder. Likely, he falls into that Friday. Getting drafted Friday. And then you got Shamar Turner, who could go Friday, probably will go Saturday. But the draft's so weird. I mean, guys slide up or down a few rounds each time.
Shamar Stewart feels good enough about his odds that he is up in Green Bay. He's
going to be there in person.
Nick Scorton staying with family.
Staying here.
So those are kind of those top 2 guys that we know of what their situation will be. What do you think? How many go?
I think it's safe to say 3 get drafted.
Well, I'm not saying it's safe. What does Tyler Shaw think happens?
I do think the 3 will get drafted because it seems like in the past sometimes guys that we thought might get drafted end up sliding a knot, and we get a bunch more undrafted free agent deals, which I think will happen. So yes, I think the 3 safe bets, I think they all get drafted. And guys like Ja'Day Walker, I think we start picking up those undrafted free agent deals.
Way to go out on a limb there.
Hey, you didn't ask me to be too bold. You just asked what I thought.
That's fair.
That's what I think.
That's fair. Well, I think we've covered everything. We will be out in Austin this weekend, covering every pitch, every sand blown across the field, and we'll have lots of coverage both on TV, on the KBTX newscast, and on KBTX.com, the KBTX Sports app as well. So be sure to check all of those things out. And we'll be back here, most likely the 2 of us, because Max just you have a kid and all of a sudden you just get vacation all the time. So
something like that.
So, yeah, that's exactly how it works. So enjoy your time away, Max. We'll just hold down the fort for you here while you're off going to baseball games and golfing. I don't know what you're supposed to do during parental leave. So for Tyler Shaw, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. We'll see you next week.